World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Premiumbeat.com.
Office without limits. Slash your telco costs. Boost agent productivity and customer service. Web conferencing for all. Never miss a call. .3CX, everywhere you go, on premise or in the cloud. 3cx.com.
saħħalsulhom il-fuel ara ġie.
Wara ftit ġranet kellna rebbieħ ieħor fil-logħba tagħna kontra 30 sekonda bil-maqlub. Suqu fuq ir-riserva xejdu le mhix se tieqa'.
ġimgħa d-dieħla nkunu fuq pompa tal-Enemed oħra nagħtu xi ħaġa oħra.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Okay, we proceed to the start.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Malta National GT3 Championship 2021, fueled by Enemed. My name is Nicolas Hillebrand, this is Johannes Weiss next to me, and we are here today for the second round of the championship. Of course, first of all, we introduce our sponsors Enemed, Gaming Malta, 3CX, and Vibe FM Radio. This championship is, of course, organized and supported by the Malta Motorsport Federation. We are broadcasted on ESTV, Motorsport TV, and TVM Sport, and of course our own social media here at World Pro Racing. And what a second round it's going to be. We're at Mills Metropark, and yeah, let's quickly transition over first to the guys at the station here. World Pro Racing, of course, with their own local racing center, and I think we should have that ready soon. But first of all, Johannes, why don't we quickly go over the circuit where we're racing at today?
Absolutely, hello and welcome everybody. Today we're racing at R-Factor2's very own Mills Metropark, the Inner Loop C version of it. It's a very, very tricky track. 13 corners we have on this very short 2.8 kilometers or 1.8 miles this track has. So it's very, very hard track to drive, and absolutely the best will have their struggles with it.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it as well, 2.8 kilometers, so barely half a kilometer longer than the very well-known Norrisring in Nuremberg, and over 2 times the amount of corners, so very, very cramped racing, so to say. But with these McLaren 720S GT3 that we're going to have here, it's going to be certainly a spectacle. So yeah, especially with you being a very experienced esports driver, and of course now real racing driver as well. Overall, how would you judge how difficult is this race going to be?
Well, you know, it's a GT3 car around a very narrow track, so we will see a lot of action door to door. I guess some door banging as well. Very close racing overall. The McLaren is a car that's quite singly, that's, you know, twitchy here and there. But from my experience, I think everybody will handle it quite well, and we'll see a lot of very, very close racing here.
Of course, our last round's top 3, Bernard Weller, Sheldon Muscat, and Jason Muscat are gonna hope to get some more points. Of course, the top finisher in this championship will go to France in October to represent Malta in the FIA Motorsport Games. So quite a prize on the line here. You know, you're having the top of this small island here, just competing for the top spots, and to then represent this fantastic nation, of course, in the FIA Motorsport Games. I think the stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, the pressure is on. Everybody will be on their limit today. Everybody knows what this is for today. So yeah, everybody will be on the very limit of their abilities, and they will race as hard as ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this situation, of course, there's no difference in equipment, there's no difference in setup, it's fixed setup, everyone has the same, exact same conditions that they have to, you know, deal with. And especially now in that World Pro Racing Center there in Malta, it's been long, you know, sort of under construction, so to say. But now it's finished, and everyone there with the exact same equipment, with the exact same chances. So really, the driver talent will shine through here today. And yeah, we have quite a bit of racing ahead of us.
Yeah, it's the only difference today. You know, everybody has the same car on the same track, same conditions. Everybody is in the same room basically. So yeah, the only difference is driver ability today, and the very best will be victorious.
I think also just keeping your mind perfectly straight in this situation. You know, normally we have that from sim racing, except for on these short, you know, little LAN events and stuff. Normally we're just in the comfort of our own home here and just doing our own thing, racing. We have no distractions. But now we have, you know, if, for example, we have contact or something, you know, the guy who just hit you is sitting a couple meters away from you. So, you know, having to focus on all of that, it's going to be a lot of a challenge, you know. Also, composure is quite important, of course. But it's 30 minutes of racing. It's the typical sprint distance. And I think the concentration will have to be perfect for today.
Absolutely. I mean, we both have the experience of being in LAN events, and well, we talked about the thing often that happened to me, that the guy was not really in his comfort zone and threw a headset right next to me. So you have to be smart, you have to be composed today, be very calm to not let the outer things affect you too much, and that will be the key for a good race today.
Of course, at the moment we have the top drivers of Malta, so, you know, also, you know, we have a couple guys that we know already. As we see here, finally, the simulation room, wonderful sight there. Just look at that, side to side to side, just perfect to see it here. And I'd say the wait was well worth it. It looks absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, perfect. I mean, I wish I had something like this to you know, drive at home, or you know, in the region where we're living. But this looks absolutely phenomenal. Very, very great work done there. And yeah, absolutely pure joy to drive there, I guess.
Absolutely. So yeah, now we're just waiting a little bit. I think soon we're gonna have the interviews ready. But before that, you know, as I said, you know, these guys, you can see it not on their faces because we're facing their backs right now, but you know, completely focused, getting as many laps in as possible, and just trying to completely stay laser focused, get as much of a routine in, of course, and not let themselves get bothered by anything.
Absolutely not. No. Having a bad day is not good today, so they are practicing each corner to perfection now. They are really giving it their absolutely best, that qualifying sits, that the race sits, that there are no sorts of infringements. They have to be on the top level, and they do that. You can see everybody is super concentrated on just the 3 monitors in front of them. The feeling they get from the wheel, from the pedals, they are on the very best level. It's the max they can do now, and I'm pretty sure they will have a wild ride tonight.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the track that they're racing at again a little bit more. Mills Metropark, it's not the most creative layout. It's not a lot of elevation change. It's a very flat circuit. But, you know, as we've all seen the track map, and of course, you know, some of us have even raced there for a bit, a lot of 90-degree corners, but a lot of momentum has to be kept up there as well. So it's just absolutely crazy. And now we actually get the go to Yaz in the simulation room there. And yeah, let's go over to him quickly. Oh, not quite yet. I
Hello,
think.
Everyone.
Oh, there we are.
We are here with Bernard Vella. My name is Yaz, and he is the winner of the first round of the Malta National G3E Championships. Bernard, how are you feeling today?
Not too good. It seems like I'm quite off the pace. Obviously not ideal that I'm going to have to be missing a bit of the practice for this interview, but you know, it's just how things go sometimes.
Okay, and are we confident with the track we have today?
No, not really. I don't really know the track, so we'll see what goes on.
Okay, well, we wish you the best of luck, and best of luck to everyone else today. Thank you. Back to you, Johan and Nicholas.
Right, so very quick interview there with our last winner, and already quite a bit of concern there, bit of a pace, but of course, also have to think, you know, it's round 2, so there's a couple of races still to go, but of course, you want to always be on top, you always want to just have a consistent result, at least under the top 3, and you know, the pressure is immediately on when that performance is not quite sitting, but this will be the true test here, how well you can handle that pressure, and of course, it's not just the first corner or the first lap, it's 30 minutes around this circuit, and you can't really allow yourself to slip up anywhere.
Exactly, you said it, it's a very technical track, a lot of 90 degrees corners, so not very much room for errors there, and obviously you want to win every race, so if you win every race, you probably win the championship quite easily. If not, and if you're having a bad day or not feeling it too good, like Bernard just told us, this might be a little key for somebody else to, you know, maybe get in there today. But yeah, very, very technical track, and if you don't feel it too good at this time, it might not be the best day for you to race here, but yeah, you can't really get around it, you have to do it, and everybody's having a bad day, so let's hope for him that he'll be making a stronger comeback in the next races if today is not his day.
Yeah, and of course, you know, always have to consider as well, we have not the most drivers here, we don't have a huge field, but, you know, 10 guys. Still, you know, just finishing here, I think, is always very desirable, so to say, you know. To just finish the race is still better than a DNF, of course, because, as we all know, DNF is never going to bring any points, and we're finally going to head over to the track, to Mel's Metropark, and there we are actually, Jesus, wow. Right in the perfect timing there, to see a bit of, well, a mistake there. I think that came out of turn 5, the old main straight, actually. And, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was quite a weird spin, actually. It didn't really see it in full motion or what exactly happened, but yeah, you know, just a tiny error possibly, and just a spin already.
Yeah, just a little bit of an overcorrection coming out of that corner, and of course, turn 5, one of the 90-degree corners, as we have the last corner here now, turn 13, with Michael Matjeka. Coming down the straight in his McLaren 720S, and you know, as I said, you know, there's not a lot of elevation change here, there's not a lot of corner variety, so to say, here, but here, turn 1, the only hairpin on this entire circuit with this tiny little chicane wiggle here makes it very, very difficult to get along after a move through turn 1. And turn 5 here, the old last corner, actually, this is a quite interesting little bit of trivia that we have for this track. First of all, it came out in R Factor 1 the first time, so the predecessor to R Factor 2, and back then the pit complex and everything was around, you know, the turn 5 area. That long straight leading to turn 6 used to be the first straight, and you can actually see in the surroundings still that there used to be the pit lane there. Now the new pit complex, with quite a lot of elevation upwards, is now on the old back straight, and that is of course just a little bit of flavor, so to say, for track layout. But nevertheless, you know, it's always a nice little bit of realism, or, you know, for the longer existing sim racers, you know, a little bit of a nice little change, because they see the history of the place as well, even if it's only purely fictional.
Exactly, you know, it's some kind of recognizable again. So, yeah, for those who played R Factor 1, they will recognize this place again, of course, as it hasn't changed that much. And we see here Mikai really hard on the curbs. I don't know if that's really fast. We can see the car jumping over them quite hard. Quite an aggressive way to drive this track, but we'll see if it pays off. Currently he's P1.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really have to think, you want to keep this car really, really planted normally, but with this aggressive driving style, with taking these curbs as hard as he is, you know, we can see there a little bit of a correction as the car just jumps and jolts over. But, you know, at the moment it seems, you know, oh, actually, now that we have P1 taken away from him, you know, he's pushing even harder probably. But, yeah, it seems to be working out at the moment. Only Vela seems to be getting ahead of him there with a 105.266. And, well, Michael Matjeka is really, really pushing hard to maybe try and get this position back. Not quite able to yet. Actually, he is. Spoke too soon there. 0.056. He puts himself in front of Vela, and next, right behind him is Muscat. Then we have the second Vela in the field. Then we have actually, another one, another mascot. And then we have Rizzo in P6, Abea in 7th, Corral in 8th, and Foster in 9th.
And those gaps aren't actually that big. I mean, P1 and P2 is only half a tenth. And then again, P3 and P4 are only just 2/10, so very, very tight packed. We'll see if that will get us some action on the race again then.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering a little bit as we see the guys tackling the circuit. A couple of them are probably, you know, just holding back a little bit. A couple of them in practice, as we have only 1 minute and 18 seconds left now before qualifying. A couple of them might still be going on race fuel, and even if it's only around 50 to 60 kilos of a difference between quali fuel and race fuel, you know, that's still going to make quite a big difference overall. And that could explain some of the gaps here, but nevertheless, first 7 within a second. And when people are fighting, of course, here, it's going to slow you down a lot, because this is just such a rhythmic track. You have to always stay within the momentum. And of course, you can't quite do that when you are side by side through one of these 90-degree corners here.
Exactly. Staying in the rhythm you get from the beginning is very key. So I guess some of those guys are planning on doing that. You know, just keep this race trim running. And that's why they have this gap today, or at least for now. We will see what the qualifying brings us, which will start in a few minutes. So yeah, very excited for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we have Bernard Vella in 4th place, of course, the winner of the last round.
Yep,
he looks a little bit more relaxed now.
Yeah, he said he was uncomfortable. I can't see that. I mean, it's half a second, 6/10, but we don't know if he's on much fuel or not. And yeah, it's just in the picture, he actually looks quite calm. So yeah, kind of maybe he's sandbagging. We don't know.
Well, you know, or maybe just, you know, he is actually rather nervous, as he said, you know, but that iron exterior, you know, is just perfect to, you know, reassure himself and also, you know, put a bit of a feint there on the other drivers, because of course they are right next to him, you know. And I think normally, you know, when you see that someone else is having a bit of a bad time, you know, they're getting nervous or something, that normally gives the others a little bit of confidence, just a little tiny bit, but, you know, him completely unfazed by it, seemingly, you know, while driving, you know. A bit more of an air of confidence, you know, it gives him confidence and takes away some of the other drivers' confidence. So let's see how he tackles it today.
Absolutely, those LAN events, they are brutal if it comes to, you know, having those inputs you get from the outside. If you are in that zone, then it's very good for you and very bad for the others, because some guys try to play with you in that way, but they are absolutely in a top form. He looks very concentrated, so let's hope that will help him today.
And as we said, you know, you've been in this role quite a lot of times already with LAN events, you know. Overall, how much do mental games really play into your full performance then? Like, would you say that, you know, if someone else would manage to do like a successful, so to say, mental game against, you know, his opponent, would that give him a significant advantage here, or would that just be like maybe a couple tenths or something?
It depends. It's really, really hard to tell, because some guys profit more from it than others. Overall, it gives you like a couple of tenths, I'd say. So 2 or 3 tenths on a longer track. Here tonight, maybe it gives you a tenth, 1.5. But that could be the tiniest bit you need today. So mental games, probably on.
Absolutely. So it's all about perfection today. And as we said, you know, with these LAN events, everyone is there together at the place. As we are finally here now for qualifying. 50 minutes are already ago. Andrea Rizzo now into turn 1. Goes through the little turn 2 and turn 3 chicane here. Now through that long right-hand sweeper. In turn 4, trying to get back as soon as possible. Not quite able to get as soon as possible back to the right side before turn 5, and steals a bit of road from himself there. Down the back straight, into turn 6 now. Lets himself get carried, takes a lot of momentum, good there. Turn 7 now, slides a bit far out, but now to turn 8 and 9. Both not quite 90-degree corners, both a little bit more open, so very much encouraging to do something like that, just carry a little bit too much momentum. As he goes on through turn 10, 11, and now into 12, that last longer chicane here. Into turn 13 now, and again, just trying to get a bit shorter road there by staying in the middle of the track for the last corner, and now down the front straight away. First of all, he will be the first guy to bring a lap time in, of course, 107.2, but right behind him we have the first ones coming in already. Machia with 105.606 already, Vela with 5/10 behind that, Abaya in front as well, Corral as well, and then the second Vela of the two. They're bringing in 8/10 behind that lap time. When we have Muscat only 1.3/10 behind that, just Jason Muscat there on screen. And Sheldon Scott Muscat in 4th place with the number 7. So it's really kicking off here, Johannes.
Absolutely. You see the top two are very, very close to each other. We've seen Rizzo not with a perfect lap, you know, having issues in, what was it, turn 5, turn 7, and I think exit of turn 10. A little bit on the grass there, so he will be improving. I'm pretty sure about that one. But there's gaps in front, only 1.3/10, super close already. And we still have 12 minutes of qualifying to go.
Absolutely, so it's just going to be who can set out the most laps right now, who can just throw the most amount of punches that actually land. And we can see Dean Vella here absolutely iron focused as well. Looking up a little bit because there is a bit of a straight ahead of him, but the fastest overall second sector as he goes into first place here.
Absolutely. Fantastic lap, and now you can see top 3 within 0.2 of a second. And he had 2 purple sectors in the last 2. So you can see that maybe he lost some time in the first sector if he has 2 purples and only, you know, 6/600ths of a second in front in P1.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's really, really interesting just overall, you know, when you're completely new to racing, completely new to, you know, sim racing as well, just in general. I mean, there's not really too much difference there between real and virtual car with these gaps. You just bat an eyelash barely, and it's already like, you know, 2/10 pretty much, and we have these guys now trying to find thousands of a second across this just over 1 minute long track. And Kesnabay actually pushing quite a lot as well, maybe over pushing it a little bit. But of course, you know, you're just trying to find that extra time now, and just to know where to find that time is all the keys here.
It's a very technical track, as we said before, so it's very, very important to nail every corner. And if you mess up one corner, you know, you want to make the next one even better and try to push even more. And sometimes that goes wrong, as we've seen now.
Absolutely, and just quickly parking the car. Of course, he has to look at his tires as well. With these last couple slides in these corners that we saw, he's gonna be, of course, a little bit nervous as Muscat actually, Jason Muscat, goes up to first place, 105.380, so even faster now. You can see absolute focus, gets back to pits, maybe waits out a little bit, you know. You don't want to drain all your stamina for qualifying just to get a couple of focused laps in. You have 30 minutes of race to go after this as well.
Exactly, and you have to be prepared for everything. Now maybe it's a good time to, you know, relax a bit, get a bit calm again. Maybe he was stuck in traffic, you know, maybe he came up to some other guy and said, well, okay, I'll take it slowly. I'll have a wait now and see where this is getting me if I get, you know, refocused for a new run.
Absolutely, and that's also just one of the other things, you know. You just really have to know where to take your fights, so to say. You know, you're just always looking out that you don't, you know, get stuck in traffic, that you always just have to think as well, you know, with your strategy. They have 8 minutes to go still, so they can just play a lot of strategy here. If they don't have necessarily the right amount of gap between them, you know, they can just quickly go back and then try to find time again. But, you know, it's better to do that now rather than later when it's 1 or 2 minutes left, when you have to factor in an outlap as well and then only one run to go.
Exactly, and everybody, you know, wants to have that, wants to be the last car to do that lap time because the track is at its best at that very point. So maybe it's a good thing to go to the pits right now and say, well, okay, let's see if I can find a nice gap, because as we already said, it's quite a short track, so you will always have, even with 10 cars, you will always have traffic a bit.
Absolutely. And of course, here as well, as you said, the track state will change. rFactor 2, of course, very well known for its fully dynamic track surface. So the only simulator where rain has a fully dynamic effect, where the racetrack, you know, how it develops has a fully dynamic effect, and all the rubber that gets put down, of course, people will want that. You know, that's really what you want, a well-rubbered-in track in the dry, and there we see Jason Muscat in first place, but Metropark actually pushing very hard as well, only just over 1/10 behind Muscat. Now over the last corner, still pushing very, very hard. This lap wasn't quite the perfect one, so now gonna probably hang another lap right behind that to try and improve once again. And, you know, we thought at first he was quite safe there, you know, with 1.5, 1.6 tenths. But now Metropark, even if it's just half a tenth, even if there's still 1/10 left, there are the signs that the others are catching up. And of course, when you're Jason Muscat, you're thinking, well, how much will they catch up? How much safety gap do I still have? And how much can I rely on that? And for him, it's apparently not too much, so he just wants to put out another couple laps.
Exactly, and what's also on his and everybody else's mind is that they have the exact same car, so he knows if the other guys, maybe he had a little mistake in his lap and knows, well, that's half a tenth maybe. And he knows if the other guy can find that half tenth, he is right next to me in that timing. So very, very close racing, be on the absolute limit and max it out. That's the only way you can do qualifying now.
Absolutely, and I think that's especially a thing that is really on the mind of some of the guys here, you know. Anything he can do, I can also do, but, you know, so where do I have to improve to find the same amount of time or to just catch up to him? So it's really, really difficult to see, you know, in these extreme pushing situations to get these perfect laps in. So as we have Sheldon Scott Muscat actually improve another little bit as well, right on the tail of Vela in P4 again. So yeah, Sheldon Scott Muscat, also a driver who's quite active in the sim racing scene, and of course wants to have the shot to represent Malta in the FIA Motorsport Games in October.
Absolutely, I mean, we race him a lot. We know him, he's a very nice guy, so... In this lap, you saw that he had a yellow first sector and 2 greens after that. So he knows there is still a bit of time in, and that may be that 10th that he needs for P4.
And the first sector now looking green. Let's see, there was a little bit of a wiggle there in the second sector, but there we are, still green, so another improvement coming Sheldon Scott Muscat's way. Last night he was racing in the SRO Sprint Series in Europe. And you can see a little bit of a disappointment there, just a little bit of a slip up. But let's have a look where he ends up. Maybe still an improvement. Ah, no, that was just too much. Slightly can improve. And Metropark actually goes up to P1 now. Metropark goes past Jason Muscat.
16 thousandths, that's not much. That's a blink of an eye, really. So that means Muscat has to push very hard now. 4 minutes, 40 seconds left. That's about 3 or 4 laps. Absolute maximum now, absolute.
You could immediately see, he set that lap, and Muscat immediately went back to the pit lane. You can see on this delta here, by the way, for the qualifying here, if the number 3, so for the position, for example, with Vela just now, if that is grayed out and the number on the delta, you know, that they're missing to P1 is blue, then they're in the pit lane. And you could see immediately, as soon as Metropark put that lap in, immediately that went blue, immediately to the pits, immediately new tires, and just instantly go out there pushing again. And Metropark just now went back to pits there as well. First sector immediately 1.5 tenths faster, so on a stun of the lap, but then too much issues in sector 2. And not quite able to string it all together, so a lot of stress now in the closing stages here.
Oh yes, there is, and you see, he had 1.5 tenths in the first sector left, so that shows how much potential there still is for him to go even faster. So that means for Muscat, really, absolutely sending it now. Absolutely. Let's see what he can do on this lap. He's starting it right now into turn 1.
quite clean out of that as well. No slides, no anything. Takes both curbs very, very much. Wants the least distance there. And very, very aggressive as well there. Tries to get as much room over to the right side before turning in. Takes all of the curb once again. So really being aggressive on the curbs here on most corners seems to be the way to go. As he goes to that very, very fast left-hand sweep off turn 6 into turn 7. Little bit of a wiggle there. Takes all of the outside curb as well, though, to just keep up the momentum. And we'll see now, 1/1000th of a second faster in the first sector.
Absolutely head-to-head. They are really on each other's limit now.
Oh,
but that was too much. That was over that limit. But he may get another shot. Yeah.
Just hurry back out on the track now.
Yeah. That's the only thing he can do, really.
He can still get 2 flying laps in like this, so really it's all about getting these last couple of laps strung together now. And actually, compared to practice, also everyone just came that little bit closer together now. Earlier we had around 3 seconds, I think, splitting the entire field. Now it's down to 1.6, so everyone really getting their top game on. Really getting together now on track and just trying to get everything sorted. And Sheldon Scott Muscat not quite able to, well, get the outlap even sorted. So maybe just getting that short moment of lack of concentration out of the way before he starts pushing again.
Yeah, absolutely, because everybody needs it. You can see it in these splits. It's only a couple, well, it's only a 10th between the first 3, and then another 10th between P4, P5, another 10th between P6, P7, and P8, P9 as well, another 10th. So everybody has someone else who's sitting in. Really, you can feel the breathing. You can feel him being right there as it's being a live event. And now there's quite a gap between P1 and P2. That was quite a lap.
Match, yeah, actually found that 1/10 that he had already seen in Sector 1 then. And now the pressure is properly on for Jason Muscat and for Dean Vella there.
Yep. Last minute of qualifying, now they have to bring it.
You can see Bernard Vella as well. Actually not as good on this run as he was on his own lap. But he knows now he can't go back into the pits, so just get this lap over with. Try to get it as best as possible without wearing too much of the tires. Because now he still has another lap after this, so you can see a little bit too wide there. So easy to do that in this little sweeping section there, turn 10 and 11. It really isn't a lot of rotation that you do there. Overall, just the same amount as a 90-degree corner, but you carry so much momentum due to it being 2 apexes.
That's they really have to be on the limit. They are on their limit, and you can see that everybody is trying to find that little bit more now. And everybody, you see some dust kicking up every now and then, so they are really pushing.
Absolutely, and
oh, purple last sector,
purple
but still only P3.
Yeah, Sector 1 was maybe just a little bit too much lost there, you know.
Yeah, but I think he's still on a lap. I think he can still go for it.
I think, yeah, actually, he just went over it just before the timer came to a 0, so really interesting. But overall, you know, so far in round 1, we had Bernard Vella, Sheldon Muscat, and Jason Muscat on the podium. And now, only Jason Muscat, so the guy who went P3 in round 1, is now the only guy in the top 3 right now. So it's really all about, you know, who is fastest around for the entire season, who can get the most consistent results up. And I think, even if it's only round 2, that is going to eat away a little bit at Bernard Vella and Sheldon Scott Muscat here.
Absolutely. I mean, it's those 8 rounds, you know, every race that passes you is a bit of a mental play. But now we see what Dean Vella can do, even though it's 2 yellows. Maybe it's an improvement.
And again, last sector, purple.
Wow.
Just really, really, you know, you just have to string the lap perfectly together. And we could see here from all the drivers involved how difficult it is, even though, you know, just looking at the map, you're thinking, well, it can't be this complex, but yes, it certainly is.
Absolutely. You see the track map and think to yourself, well, it's not that hard, is it? And you can see, well, it is very, very hard.
Even if there's no elevation, you know. Very, very difficult. And we'll also be getting an interview with each driver around the location soon. So getting direct peek into the driver's mentality, well, just before the race, as far as I've understood it. And that's not really often that you have that chance. We have these grid walks, just before a race starts. But even then, you don't have the time to interview each and every one of the drivers. So these guys will be absolutely on edge, and it's going to be quite something.
You have to keep your focus. You don't want to lose that right now. So these interviews, they may get to you a little bit, and we'll see who will be the one guy that gets the best out of it.
Absolutely, and interview also the last chance then to get well, a little bit of a jab in, with the old mind games. If you're just saying, oh well, I just made a couple mistakes there, I can go faster, and of course the others, it's up to them how hard they take that comment, but it's all about the mind games, isn't it? It's all about the bluffing, more than even in poker, So yeah, absolutely crazy. So yeah, going to the center now with Lavinia, with Simon, and with Yas again. And we should be going over there any second now. There we are.
After the qualifiers, you placed first, Mikhail. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, happy with the lap. Following last time, I placed fifth. And now I feel much more confident and hoping to keep the result going for the race.
And what about the track? How do you feel that maybe there's some obstacles, or how will you go about it?
It's quite challenging. It has quite a lot of S-curves, and it's quite narrow sometimes, so if you touch the curb you might spin off, so it's quite challenging, but we shall see how we go.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Now we are here with Jason. Hi Jason, how are you feeling after the qualifiers?
Very good. P2, in front of Dean and also Bernard, who was first in the first race. So I think qualifying was very important for this race because it's going to be very hard to overtake. So most important is to
How are you feeling about the whole setup with the racetrack and everything?
I'm now getting more confident. Obviously, since it's a different setup from what we have at home, it does take time to get used to it. Now, I think everybody actually is getting more used to it. So I'm feeling quite confident.
Great, good luck and see you afterwards.
Thank you.
Now we're here with Dean. Hi Dean, how are you? How are you feeling after the qualifiers?
Not bad, certainly a bit better than last week. Since I got fifth, I was the second off and there was only like 2 tenths off, so a bit better, yeah.
Are you confident about today's track?
In terms of the track itself, I feel pretty confident with the track itself. In terms of race pace, it seems good, but of course we'll see in the race itself.
How about your strengths? What do you feel are your biggest strengths going into this race?
I think, well, my racecraft is pretty good as I think it is, so I'm just hoping that I can, if I get any chances, I can pull something off to get either P2 or P1.
Great, good luck. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, I'm here with Andrea Rizzo. How do you feel qualifying went for you today?
Well, compared to practice, to bit not so good, because I qualified 7th, so hopefully I can better this in the race.
Do you feel prepared for the race, or do you think you might have some problems?
I hope conditions stay the same. Maybe I can make some places, but I think maybe 2 places is the highest I can go, maybe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm here with Sheldon Scott Muscat. You qualified P4 today. How are you feeling for the race?
Well,
I'm quite looking forward for the race. The pace is not that good. Fourth, I was like 6 tenths off. That's a lot for me. Usually I'm like at the front of the field, but I think race pace should be good today. I mean, I was consistent in practice. I did some race pace, so yeah, that's fine.
Are you feeling confident with the track? Have you raced around here before?
No, but these are the first few laps for me, so yeah, I'm just trying to get used to it. It's a nice track, it's technical, yeah, but we'll see how it goes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi. I'm here with Colin Foster now. You qualified toward the back. How are you feeling for the race?
After last week's performance, I'd just be able to keep up with the rest of the pack, to be honest. I had a bit of a nightmare start last week, so I'm hoping to improve on that.
Do you feel confident around this track?
I certainly feel more confident regarding this track rather than last week. Just have a bit more few technical turns.
Good luck for the race. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello, hello. I'm here with Kirsten. Kirsten, how are we today?
Good. Good enough.
Good. And we placed 6. How do you feel about that?
I was a bit disappointed as it wasn't a very clean lap and there was much time to gain.
And can I just ask, who inspired you to get into racing?
My dad, because he was always passionate about racing, and then I followed his steps by even watching races, and then here we are.
It's very sweet. Well, good luck to you, Kirsten. Okay, so I am here with Gianluigi. Gianluigi, how are you today?
Been better, thanks.
Been better, yeah. We placed 9th. Do you think we can improve?
Yes, I think there are all the opportunity for have a good race and improve all the position as much as possible.
Okay, very, very good. Well, we're looking forward for the next round. Good luck to everyone.
Thank you. We're back in our studio here, and you could see all these different reactions, you know. Of course, all of them, you know, they are all quite confident they can still get some out of it. Some disappointed in qualifying, of course, you know. You're never going to be satisfied fully, I think, unless you have, you know, the #1 spot. But yeah, all of them very much looking forward to the race. A lot of different feedback as well to the track. And, you know, from Kesnevea, actually, a little throw in there, you know, who inspired him to race. His dad, very nice, very sweet as well. But, you know, this is all this wonderful racing background.
Yep, everybody sort of has a story how he came to the racing, and you know, for us to be able to do that, to feel the passion coming and do those racing, is just a wonderful feeling, and so is everybody here having that time.
Absolutely, and you know, now with sim racing as well, you know, a huge jolt forward in popularity since well, the beginning of the pandemic, of course. But yeah, since, you know, slowly starting to show signs of easing up with all the pandemics, you know, with vaccinations going forward. But the popularity of sim racing stays up there, so very good to see. Of course, motorsport's the #1 reason why it's so difficult to get into it as, you know, a participant. You know, the costs with sim racing, of course, costs stay low, but the racing stays real. So very good to see all these opportunities, for example, from World Pro Racing, and of course, you know, the Malta Motorsports Federation, which of course you know, sees this rise in popularity and then also thinks, hey, we should get in on this and promote all of this. You know, it's great to see.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no better feeling than, you know, driving in such an organization, and, you know, to have that big prize at the end, to, you know, be the guy who represents your country is a very big thing everybody dreams of. And yeah, I think for all of those guys, you know, the popularity which goes up with sim racing now is just a wonderful thing for everybody who is being involved in this, and they all feel it, because you could see that in the interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, of course, you know, even if they don't really let others notice too much, you know, bit nervous, I'd say, you know, because after all, it's the race coming up and everyone's there on site this time. So, yeah, we're going to see how everyone's going to tackle it, and just a couple of minutes of warm-up left, and then we'll already go to the track. And then it's just lights out, 30 minutes of racing to come.
Yep. And we saw those little mind games we talked about earlier. You know, everybody was a bit of, you know, holding themselves back and say, well, the race may be better if qualifying wasn't that good. Everybody else who is in the same room can hear that. So yeah, they're playing it, and now we see in those, after those 2 minutes or 3 minutes of warm-up, we'll see who has the thing to win this tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, also very, very nice touch there. The interview that we got with every driver, we had a webcam on top of everyone's center screen, so we got to see everyone up close and personal. So really quite exceptional, you know, this entire event, this entire, you know, with the location there, and you know, the direct interviews possible with the drivers. It's just really completely on another level compared to like most just online events, as we now head to the track for the main event of this evening, up to the race. Everyone's slowly getting to the grid here now. Of course, I think we're going to have a flying lap as well, a flying start, I mean, with a formation lap first. A couple of guys still holding back there. Oh, actually, it's standing start then. And there's already a penalty for Muscat, as everyone's now off the line, coming into turn 1, and very, very deep for Michael Mercedes. And instantly Muscat on the inside of him, actually a bit of contact throughout the entire field. Michael Mercedes drops down to 3rd place as Vella and Muscat get through. Foster actually didn't get out of the pits properly, and Mercedes goes around there because there's contact with Vella, and Abaya goes through into P3. Had a fantastic start there.
Wow, wow, what a couple of first corners. We saw a guy off in turn 1, and now this happened in, was it turn 5? Yeah, very, very messy start, but yeah, let's hope they keep it clean now.
Muscat is starting to try and shoot away from Vella in 2nd place, Abaya in 3rd place, Corrao in 4th place, Sheldon Scott Muscat in 5th place, Rizzo in 6th, Mediccia, after all this contact, down to 7th place. It's definitely not what he wanted, starting from pole position. Then we have Vella again in 8th, and Foster in 9th, who actually now finally made it out of the pit lane, I think.
Yep, looks like everybody is still going. That's a good sign. You can already see the gaps opening up now. There's 1 second gap between P1 and P2 as we see in the tag, maybe into turn 1, not quite. But yeah, already a gap to P3, about 3.7 seconds to the leader. And now the field is slowly getting back together again, hopefully.
You could see there Gianluigi Corrao, as we had a very, very quick little thing there. I think we had a short yellow flag, I think in sector 3, and Foster dropped off a little bit, so that may have been a bit of an off there. But back to the action here, Gianluigi Corrao trying to defend P4 from Sheldon Scott Muscat, and Muscat early already in T1, looking down the inside, not quite able to make it stick, but certainly still trying his best here, and trying to stay right on the tail of the P4 seated McLaren.
I think the place to overtake will be T1, because that's where you have the long straight just before. So if you get a nice run through the corners 12 and 13, you might be able to be close enough for T1, but again, it looks like he's a bit too far away, just.
New fastest lap time, of course, 2nd lap. The first one without the standing start impeding the lap time. Not Sheldon Muscat, sorry, Jason Muscat getting the 1:06 lap time, so quite considerably slower, with, of course, a lot more fuel on board. But Kirsten Nevaeh, we heard from him, you know, not happy with his qualifying whatsoever, but he must be even happier than with the start, coming up to P3, so really, really exceptional. Could somehow stay clean through that entire chaos, and Foster goes in for a first pit stop already, and there must have been some damage on the car there.
Looks like he has had a very, very bad start. Sad to see because we want, you know, everybody to have a clean race as good as possible. But yeah, that's probably him out of the range for the race victory. Whilst everybody is still in. I mean, Vela is dropping off now to the leader. Ibea is quite holding the gap actually, even closing in on P2. So that might be a battle now, as we have a yellow flag in Sector 3.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe just a short little something that comes from when a car goes a bit off the track there, you know, just having a little bit of a slide over the outside curb. So we have now our eyes on Andrea Rizzo in 6th place with Michael Mejia just right behind him. And of course, the pressure for Mejia is on now. He had the perfect spot, and with all of that stuff going on, very unfortunate start for him, of course. Foster apparently out of the race already because losing the rear wing, and of course, sadly, that is irreparable here in R Factor 2. So losing our first driver already, very, very unfortunate start for Foster, of course, who was actually looking forward to the race a bit.
Yeah, I mean, losing the rear wing on a track like this might not help at all, and that's a retirement. Sadly, we didn't want to see that, but that's racing. Stuff like this happens. But let's hope nobody else will have that.
Absolutely, pushing on the edge, you know, that's the risk that you have to take sometimes. But here we are, still one lap later. Andrea Rizzo trying to defend his position from Mika Mejia, and Mejia goes down the inside with a dive like no other in turn 1. Still alongside, side by side, but there we go, Andrea Rizzo with the switchback coming out of the hairpin. Very, very difficult to get past here.
Very smart driving from Rizzo. That was a superb cutback, made it work just nicely. And yeah, let's Mejia wind a bit. Let's see if he can attack in the next corners or again into turn 1. Maybe brake a bit earlier, and then there won't be a chance of a cutback. But you can see the gaps. The field is going back together again. P4 to P7, only 1.2 seconds. This is those 4 guys we see right here fighting very, very hard to get up the positions.
Yeah, and the 2 two-way battles now went into 1 three-way battle. And yeah, that is actually Corral, because Sheldon Scott Muscat managed to find a way through, but now Jason Muscat has to deliver the penalty, so it wasn't something just shown on the HUD there. That was actually a penalty, so probably a jump start then for Jason Muscat. Very, very unfortunate for him. And once again, it throws the complete order completely upside down, because now we have Vela leading, Abea on 2nd, and Sheldon Scott Muscat in 3rd.
Exactly, and Jason Muscat came out right in the middle of that pack, in that 4 group. There you can see the green car, that's him. So very, very close driving now, and super hard fighting between those guys now.
We had a car in the background there that was Andrea Rizzo with a way off at turn 5, so very, very difficult, of course, hitting these curbs. We heard it from Mika Mejia that there's actually, you know, the car jumps around, the car wants to get very, very upset at you, but you know, if you just lose it there in a moment, and yeah, we already have that DNF then here from Rizzo. Very, very unfortunate, of course, for him, and the race sadly goes on without him.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. That's, you know, another car off. Let's hope it wasn't too bad or wasn't a driver mistake, but yeah, unfortunate, really unfortunate.
Actually, we have, I think we have Foster back on track here, actually.
Yeah, Foster's going back at it.
I'm gonna be honest, you know, just continuing like that, very, very good actually. And now we have a penalty there for Vela. So that must have been either a cut track or something that we haven't seen from the stewards yet. I think it must have been a cut track from the in-game penalty system. So it's really going up and down, and I'm at a loss for words here.
Yes.
Crazy.
It's going up and down. There's no really calm in this race. It's just action just everywhere. And now we're close to 1/3 of the race now, and it's still, you know, very, very action packed. And now everybody comes out there on the long way down to turn 1. Close battles here, so maybe an attack into turn 1 we can see now.
And there we are, Vela coming into the pits there to deliver a penalty. That's Dean Vela. delivering a drive-through for the incident with Michael Mejia on lap 1, and Jason Muscat has a 5-second post-race penalty for the incident with Michael Mejia. So on lap 1, that was probably the contact that we saw just out of turn 1 there, and this is going to throw the order upside down even more. But, you know, Dean Weller having that problem at the start, but now Bernard Weller, the man who was so nervous at the start here before qualifying, now leading the race in front of Kirsten Beyer and Sheldon Scott Muscat.
We didn't really expect that at the end of the qualifying, did we?
Absolutely not. He was really lacking confidence there, and well, you know, it just proves once again, you know, consistency. You know, consistency is key.
And now you can see Beyer actually attacking. He's going for that P1. He closed that gap down again. So we will see a fight for P1 at Muscat. As we know, he now has a 5-second post-race penalty. He has to build a gap now. He has to close up to the guys in front and see that he can find those 5 seconds. They can see that, you know, he gets somehow that spot, that the 5 seconds at the end of the race won't be too hard on him.
Yeah, of course, Weller will really have to look at being, you know, just completely error-free now, because Abea, of course, only 6 tenths behind him. That is right within attacking range, and Sheldon Scott Muscat only 3.4 seconds behind them. So really just having to not make any mistakes whatsoever, as we have Michael Mejia there as well, with now a sector new best time there, and in fifth place, right behind Jason Muscat. So, you know, with the post-race penalty, he would now get up to a 4th place, and of course, Michael, he knows how fast he is around here. Of course, he wants to get past Jason Muscat as quickly as possible, not let himself get slowed down by a man who has a penalty already anyway. But of course, it is every single right of Jason Muscat to defend that position, because after all, they're on the same lap, they're fighting for position.
They're fighting for the championship in the end. You know, it's only the second race, so everything is still in. Everybody has to fight for a spot, so nobody is giving up the spot anyways.
Absolutely, and of course, Jason Muscat, P3 in the last race, is going to try to stay ahead as far as possible in this entire situation.
You try to run away as good as you can. That's the same for everybody, but Muscat and Mejia, they are closing down that gap to the leader. So those will come back to the group in front of them again. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, absolutely, and now we have to have a look here. How these gaps actually are closing down overall, like globally, because we see that Abea is still right on the tail of Weller. Weller is now, you know, really under pressure from the man right behind him, and Sheldon Scott Muscat, he's just sitting behind that, of course, on the straights, rubbing his hands together and, you know, seeing with a lot of happiness how the guys in front are slowing each other down. But of course, in the corners, he'll have to keep the hands on that wheel. And now down the inside of turn 5, there's contact! Very sudden move there. Kirsten Beyer actually goes ahead, but I think our FIA credit stewards Adrian Figueroa and George Muscat may have to look at that, because that was a very sudden move, and of course with contact.
Yeah, that was very aggressive and very hard move. Yeah, probably... I don't want to say anything. I can't judge the situation just from this one picture, but now for Abea, it's important to get away from Weller now. He showed that he is there. Oh, is he letting him through again?
Yeah,
yes.
He gave
as we see a car spinning in P3.
Sheldon makes that mistake that he didn't want to make just at the exit of turn 10. So difficult to keep it fully there, but actually does, I think that was like a 720 or even 1080 spin. And, well, kept it going, so that's at least something already. But of course, you can see him being disappointed there, from P3 down to P5, but nothing is lost yet. Of course, we still have over half of the race to go, but I will have to say, these first 13 minutes of the race, they just flew by.
Absolutely, this race is passing, you know, super quick. It's close to the halfway mark now. And there's so much action just going back and forth, and everybody's fighting with everyone. Super racing, super to watch.
Absolutely. And of course, still, Weller's still ahead now, because Abea actually let him back through. So the gentleman rule does apply here, of course, and Kirsten Abeya just thinking, well, that was maybe a bit too harsh. Let's through Vela again, and the fight is still on. So the guys right behind them, so Jason Muscat, Mikael Machia, and of course Sheldon Scott Muscat right behind in that trio. All three of them are still catching the lead battle, so we might have a 5-way battle for the lead soon. How often can you say that?
Probably not very often, and we will see it here. I'm pretty sure about that one. And you see how close those cars are on track next to each other. That's not even a car length between those two right now, as they went into turn 1. It's a super close racing, and it will become closer towards the end, as Abeya is under half a second now again towards P1. But this group, those three guys, those are the three to watch at the moment, as they are fighting super hard and super close.
Yeah, and all 5 of them, of course, in the same frame. There we have Kirsten Abeya again. Of course, he's really not going to want to be on his tiptoes, you know, he wants to put the throttle down. And you could see how hard he's attacking the curb inside there and outside as well, you know, try and get the most amount of track that he can carry momentum with. Only 4.5 tenths behind now, under 4 tenths now, and that is actually Jason Muscat sending it down the inside of Mikael Machia into turn 12. And Sheldon Scott Muscat trying to follow through, but not quite able to make that. But, oh my goodness me, that was a send and a half.
I think it was a defending move from Jason Muscat there, actually. I think he was ahead just before. And that was super, super good driving from both of them not to end up in the walls there.
Absolutely, the respect there is very, very good. And I think we had a little bit of a slower lane out of turn 5 once again. So Abeya and Vela still trading blows. But of course, these guys in this 3 group right behind them, P3 to P5, they don't want to waste their time fighting. They want to get closer to the P1 and P2 group and then waste their time fighting, of course, as we're now just past the halfway mark.
They should actually not start fighting now. They should stay in that order and then catch up to the top 2, because there is the big prize. There are the big points. That's where you want to be. Not fighting up until you are really with them, and then you can go for the positions.
Absolutely.
You can see them in the background. They can see the top 2. They can smell it. They are next to each other, basically.
Now we actually saw again, you know, 2.7 seconds off of Jason Muscat, 2.5, 2.3 into the braking zone. And, you know, they basically closed down an entire second in the last lap. So Vela and Abeya actually really still fighting, and it's not really going to help them too much. But of course, you know, if Abeya thinks, you know, now, well, Vela is going too slow for me, I have to go past now before we get into that big fight. He has to make a move rather now than later, because of course it's better to only focus on attacking instead of attacking and defending at the same time. It's very, very difficult to do both, especially at a circuit here where you constantly have to also focus on your own lines here.
Exactly, and you know, being in the pack and, you know, fighting front and back car in the same cars as you are is super difficult, because you're just taking a little bit of a different line, maybe out of a corner, and it can either throw you back behind the other guy who's chasing you, or it helps you into the next corner for the guy in front. Could end actually in a 3-way fight into one corner. So very, very difficult driving if you're in the middle of the pack. So for Abeya, it's really now to see that he can get past Vela and run away a bit. That would be the optimum strategy for him. But it's not that easy. You often say it's easy to overtake, but it isn't.
Absolutely. And once again, we see that gap shrinking a little bit, just a few tenths at a time. But of course, with this short lap time, we still have around, I think, 8, 9 or 10 laps still left. So really, these guys, this is a race of attrition, you know. Who can defend the longest, who can attack the longest, and of course, can they keep up their pace to not get caught by P3 and P4 there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Making their way into T12 again. Now to turn 13, and you can see a bit of sliding there from Kirsten Abeya, so some tire wear maybe already setting in. And that was very slow through the last corner from Bernard Vela. Now Kislebeya right behind him. Is he able to attack yet? No, just couldn't get to run yet. So maybe Abeya just trying to avoid contact in the last corner. Maybe a bit too much overdrive out of the last corner compared to Vela. And Vela just thinking, well, I'm just going to park it on the apex. Abeya is right behind me, and that's why I want to keep it.
I mean, he does not want to give up P1. And you can see P3 and P4 are closing in. It's 1.5 seconds now to the leader, so that's actually 1.2 seconds to P2. And that's something you can see in the mirror as it comes down the inside. What a move. Very, very nice move there.
Very, very good indeed. Fantastic move from Kirsten Abeya there, and this time I think very much, you know, he won't have to give anything back. Muscat and Mercia are right behind them now, and sadly I have to add that we've lost Sheldon Scott Muscat, so some sort of incident has befallen him, as we also saw another car, so I think that was Foster as well, losing the rear wing for a second time. So now it's only 6 cars left, and 4 of them are all right close together right here. And now Abeya with a bit of a slide out of turn 13. Ah, very, very difficult. He's now going to have to defend with all of his might, and Van Vella right behind him. Then right behind him, Jason Muscat, Miguel Mercia, all of them within 1.5 seconds. So it's really going to come down now in these last 10 minutes.
Absolutely, and Abeya now is trying to run away. You can see he's getting a little bit of a gap between him and Vela now, as Muscat and Mercia are really, really close to each other. They want to get past Vela as soon as possible as well. So we'll see who gets the upper hand in this battle.
Absolutely. You can just
Wow.
see, I think, in Mikael Mercia's position, you know, you really want to just get past Muscat and Vela as quickly as possible. And now Vela actually slow a bit out of turn 10 and 11, and Muscat goes around the outside into turn 12. Really not a usual place to overtake, but wow, what a move, fantastic. And now Mercia right over the back of Vela as well, but can he actually gain enough time? He's slowly getting closer there with Slipstream, but not quite enough to make a move yet. And Mikael Mercia, he must be getting a bit frustrated there, because he sees overtakes being made ahead of him, but he's just not able to make that overtake himself.
For Bernard Vela, it was quite a bit of a bad momentum there. He lost the place, he lost the rhythm to P1 to Abeya, and now he lost another place to Muscat. So, yeah, you have to find the rhythm as soon as possible again, or otherwise he will fall down to P4 soon. Let's see if he
has to keep up the concentration now.
Yeah, you can see doing little mistakes now every now and then, so he's actually on his very limits. Maybe tire wear kicking in for him as hard as probably for nobody else, because he had to defend all the time.
Yeah, a little bit wide again, but also a little bit of a slide there from Mikael Mercia. Now again wide again, and well, Mercia just looking to the inside, outside, trying to find more momentum to actually try and make pass, but just not quite able to get close enough yet. But maybe looking for a move down the inside of turn 1, and very aggressive defense from Bernard Vela, as they're now going side by side through the turn 2-3 chicane. Now through turn 4, and he's still around the outside. Mercia actually makes it past now into turn 5, and persistence pays off for Mikael Mercia.
Was a super move around the outside there. Really daring move as well. Now for Vela, he has to stay on the back of Mercia, and maybe they can close the gap back again. Maybe find the rhythm again. And, you know, you never know what happens in those last 8 minutes we have now.
Now we have our eyes on Jason Muscat trying to chase Kirsten Abeya up in first place and slowly actually closing that gap. So now for Kirsten Abeya, who couldn't believe his luck at the start to suddenly find himself right at the front of the field, well, now he finds himself being the one who is being chased, and now he has to keep up that gap. Of course, Slipstream not quite doing as much as we hope, as you know, people would normally hope. But of course, Jason Muscat is going to get a 5-second penalty at the end of the race, so he's also going to try and get as far ahead of the guys right behind him as possible. And right now it would still, nevertheless, of his fantastic moves to get up into P2, you know, he has to get closer to Abea, maybe overtake him, and then use the last 6 minutes, if he would be able to make it that fast, to get a gap to as many cars as possible, because right now he would still get dropped down to P4, and of course that would make 2 of the moves that he made, well, basically for naught at the moment.
He really has to push now, he really has to commit to every single corner for those last 6.5 minutes to get those gaps, to get this gap to P4, maybe being able to run away far enough to get P3 in the end. But we don't know that by now. We'll see if he can push and if Abea is actually fast enough to open up the gap to Vela, that it's possible, because, you know, he's gaining in super small, step by step. I personally don't think that's enough to do an overtaking maneuver on P1, but yeah, we never know what happens. This race is crazy and we've seen a lot of stuff happening.
Absolutely, and it's at least 6 or 7 laps left over in this race, and if Muscat is able to catch Abea in that time, that's going to be up in the air, but you can see he's just throwing everything into that right now. And I think he's the setter of the fastest lap of the race so far, so him being 13 thousandths behind that, his personal best, you know, very, very difficult, of course, and wow, really pushing on the limit, but a bit of a mistake there from him.
Yeah, he's absolutely committed. He wants everything. He wants to push as hard as he never pushed before. You can see it. He's using every millimeter of the racetrack.
And now we see once again, and now he's actually gotten quite close. There must have been a mistake from Abea. Down the inside, and actually, oh, that was with quite a lot of contact. So I think the stewards may have to have a word about that. And Jason Muscat, I don't think he's going to give back the position there, but Abea now actually countering with the same aggression. Door rubbing here through the corners, and it's just as you said, we will have a bit of door banging, but Jesus, this is absolutely next level. Last 5 minutes, everyone suddenly decided, well, it's time to be aggressive now. And then Abea spins!
Oh, no, that's not what we wanted to see. And you know, he was not in the position to defend that hard because Muscat was having that 5-second penalty. There was no point in defending super hard or gaining back that P1. He just needed to stay within the range of those 5 seconds and the victory would have been his.
Yeah, now he has dropped out of that range. Big shame for him.
I can see it in his face. Yeah.
Now with the next battle here up ahead for the last 4 minutes, we have, you know, Jason Muscat trying to defend from Michael Mercier, who has now been promoted to P2, and of course would, after that post-race penalty, take the race win. So really difficult, of course, here in these last closing moments. And meanwhile, Dean Vella in P4, after having been thrown back from a drive-through penalty as well, you know, now making his way slowly forward again through the trouble of others, through others just, well, a little bit too aggressive in the last couple of minutes because, well, last 5 minutes, of course, the stress is on, but guys, the race is finished when the flag drops and not, you know, in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, but you want to finish the race in P1, you don't want to win it because of the time penalty. But I think Mergia is actually smart enough to not overtake him, just stay within those 5 seconds and win the race that way.
Absolutely, and of course, well, I mean, it's a base instinct of every racing driver, you know, there's a car ahead, I must overtake. But, you know, I think he's really starting to play the safe game here. Last sector was actually a personal improvement for him as well. But just keeping up that gap, you know, and actually just staying like this, it's quite safe for him. But meanwhile, actually Bernard Vella actually dropped out of the range for the 5-second penalty for Jason Muscat. So right now, actually, Muscat probably wants to focus his time on building a gap to Bernard Vella to actually stay P2, to only lose 1 position at the end of this race. So this is going to be very, very difficult for him now. Of course, wants to focus all of his attention to just not lose any more time. And Michael Mercier actually, well, with his hesitance to go for a move right now, actually perfectly playing along for that.
Chia is really pushing, and it's very hard to keep your eyes on the track and not in the rearview mirror if you have a car this close all the time. As you can see, Mejia actually super close on the way out of turn 13 all the way down to T1. So yeah, it's really a tough battle, and Muscat has to keep his focus, but now it's already 6.5 seconds, so P2 is quite safe for him, I'd say.
But of course, we also have that other move there. That move into turn 1, you know, we don't know if the stewards will say anything about that, where it was between him and Kirsten Abea. So really, really difficult, of course, and Abea now down to 5th place. That really didn't go well for him towards the end. But the entire race over, fantastic drive from Abea, and now, you know, it perfectly shows that, you know, you just have to have that consistency up and stay completely error-free up until the last moment. Now Mikael Mejia actually getting a bit closer and closer to Jason Muscat. As we have this, well, actually for the first time in the broadcast, we have this wonderful onboard footage, so you can see just how cramped the circuit is, how technical it is. You can't really allow yourself to do any sort of mistake. And Mejia just really right on the tail of Muscat. Now coming around for the last lap of the race with 40 seconds left, and to be precise, 36 seconds left as they cross the line, and actually Muscat moving down to the inside just to make sure to stay ahead of Mejia, and whew, that is going to be very, very tricky for that last lap.
Made that McLaren as wide as he can into turn 1. So no, whoa, they are super close. That's really on the very limit now, and yeah, maybe he's, you never, yeah. I'm lost for words. I'm really lost for words on how good and how close this driving is. Absolutely fantastic show by those two guys.
Absolutely wonderful as well. We see the two drivers just with their facial expression, you know, both of them absolute peak of concentration. And so, well, you know, luckily this is a simulator, because honestly, with the amount of exhaust fumes Mejia is sniffing at the moment from Muscat's car from being so close, you know, normally would be passing out at this point. But look at this. Muscat gets through, stays ahead for the race finish, gets to the finish line, and Mikael Mejia comes home in 2nd place, but of course 5-second penalty after the race. Thumbs up, very happy of course with his drive. Mejia will be promoted post-race to the victory spot, of course, but hey, that's still a 2nd place for Jason Muscat. Provisional podium, of course, so in the end we will have Mikael in P1, Jason Muscat in P2, and P3 Bernard Vella. So I think quite some consolation for Bernard Vella with all of that going on. And, you know, he was very, very worried, of course, before qualifying, before the race, about his pace. So I think with a P3 he's going to be mighty, mighty happy.
Yeah, I think, you know, he said that he wasn't feeling too well before the qualifying, was before the race, can't remember exactly. And, you know, still getting a P3 in the end is a good result if you don't feel too good. So that will boost his mental stability for the last races immensely. I'm suggesting that.
Oh, Jason actually coming onto the main straight. I think he wants to do some donuts. There we are.
Oh!
I installed it. Well, you know, then again, you know, GT3 cars not the easiest to do donuts in, simply because you have that traction control and everything. But hey, A for effort still. And Jason Muscat, of course, crosses the line in 1st place. In the end, of course, provisional podium. The win goes out to Mikael Mejia. And of course, you know, he started off over here in World Pro Racing in Gran Turismo Sport, actually. I commentated on his first race back then. And, you know, later on, we saw him a couple of months ago change to Assetto Corsa Competizione, now as well in R Factor 2, and what a way he's gotten down. Absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, we'll be interviewing the top 3 finishers in a little bit. But yeah, Mikael Mejia, really an example of, you know, if you're fast here and you're fast here, well, you're probably going to be fast here as well. So yeah, fantastic drive from him, even though such a difficult race, you know, qualifying in P1, then that disastrous first couple corners, going down to P7, going as badly as it could. But then, just consistency is key, stays error-free, stays completely stress-free, and makes it back in one piece and actually finishes in P1 again.
The unwritten rule of motorsport was a proof here again. Never give up. Never stop believing in what you can achieve in a race. I mean, 30 minutes is still quite a distance, so if you're in last place at the end of the first lap, it still means you can win this race. That's what he proved today, and yeah, very fantastic race from him, and super driving, error-free. I think under those circumstances, I think there was nothing he could have done better.
Absolutely. So yeah, just absolutely phenomenal drive from him, I'd say. And well, just as you said, never give up. And these 30 minutes, even though they've flown by, we never really got a breather, to be honest. Constant action out on track, and yeah, it's still, a distance that you have to cover first before you actually, well, get declared the winner. And especially with a track like this, we had the main straight and of course the back straight after turn 5 through turn 6 to turn 7. Still really difficult to just cover all of that properly, and well, we saw a lot of people rise through the field but also fall, so very difficult, of course, for all of them out here. But yeah, congratulations goes out here to our finishers, to our podium finishers, and of course to Michael Mercia, who finishes in the end after a very eventful race from P1 to P7 back up to P1. So absolutely phenomenal race from him. Now we're going to Bernard Vella, interviewed by Davinia.
So we're here with Bernard, third place in the national championships. How are you feeling right now?
Honestly, P3 is quite good given the circumstances. I had quite a lot of damage throughout the race, so it was mainly about finishing and getting the most points possible, because I didn't even have pace, so adding things on, it was just a nightmare at that point. So P3, I'll take it.
Great. And what about your strengths and your weaknesses throughout the race?
The main weakness was the pace. I had literally zero pace. I couldn't get comfortable with the car, with the track, nothing. The main strength was just trying to keep the people behind, although for some reason I didn't have my rear view mirror, so I couldn't see anything that was happening behind me, so that wasn't too ideal, but I'll take P3, like I said.
And how are you feeling about the upcoming races? Because there are 8 races and this is the second one. So how are you feeling about that?
To be honest, I haven't even checked the tracks that are coming up, so I'll see what's coming up next. I'll try and get a bit of practice, because like last week I couldn't really practice for this one due to work, but we'll see what happens in the next races.
Thank you, good luck and well done.
Thank you.
Now on to Simon.
Jason Muscat, P2 today, are you happy with the result?
Considering all the drama and what happened, I'm very happy still, even with P2.
Now, you crossed the line in first, but unfortunately a 5-second penalty dropped you back to second. What can you say about that?
You know, it's fair. I made a mistake, and I got a penalty for it. I made another mistake at the start, which was my fault as well. But, you know, considering I was down to P5 or P6, coming back to finish second, it's a good result.
Are you confident for next week's race after your good form this week?
Pace and consistency is there, so yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, hello. We are here with the winner of today's round, Mikhail. How are we feeling today?
Yeah, very happy today. So started off in pole, but then I got pushed off and dropped down to 7th. Put my head down and finished the race. I did not know because Jason had a penalty in front of me, but pretty happy with today's race.
Very good recovery from your side. Are you looking forward to next week?
Yes, and I started off bad in the first race. Today was much better, so keep on going this way. Hopefully we're now back in the championship, I think.
And do you think you have ways to improve maybe for next week?
Yeah, just try to keep calm because the last 10 minutes are like massive pressure to trying to not make a mistake and to try to overtake. But yeah, overall, quite happy. Let's hope we be the same next week.
That's very good. And are you going to celebrate tonight?
Yeah.
Any plans?
Not really, just preparing for the next one.
Amazing. Okay, so well done to you, Mikhail. Well done to all the racers, and good luck for next week. Back to the commentators, Nicolas and Johan. Thank you.
So, final closing words from our drivers. And, you know, the irony is not lost, you know, for the 5-second penalty for Justin Muscat for the incident with Mika Mejia actually decides to turn back the scales around. So I'd say, you know, everything pretty much balanced. What is your final word around the race today, Johannes?
It was an absolute, you know, crazy race. You had fights all over all the time. We had those penalties applied. We had those very hard fights on the tracks. It was a super race from everybody, and you know, some guys were falling down the order at the very beginning, coming back up again. Everybody was on its absolute limit. You could see it all the time. Guys were fighting the car basically every lap, every corner. Nobody had a real, you know, moment of silence in that race. So it was a superb race to watch, superb race to comment on, and yeah, hope for more races like this in the future for the next, you know, 6 rounds or 5 rounds or whatever it is. Rest.
Right, so this was round 2 of the Multinational GT3 Championship 2021, fueled by Enemed. Of course, thank you to our sponsors, Enemed, Gaming Malta, 3CX and Vibe FM Radio. Of course, thank you so much to our collaboration partner here for this series, Malta Motorsports Federation. And of course, to our broadcast partners, ESTV, Motorsport TV and TVM Sport. Of course, this was broadcasted as well on our social media. But thanks as well to our broadcasting team, Justin Mifsud, Nathan Mifsud and Nathan Vella. And of course to our stewards, Adrian Figallo and George Muscat. And one final thank you, of course, goes out to everyone who tuned in, to all of you guys watching at home. I hope you have a wonderful evening or morning, afternoon, wherever you're watching around the world. Have a good day and goodbye. See you next time, hopefully.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
premiumbeat.com. office without limits. Slash your telco costs. Boost agent productivity and customer service. Web conferencing for all. Never miss a call. .3CX, everywhere you go, on premise or in the cloud. 3cx.com.
ma saħħalsulhom il-fuel. Ara ġej.
Wara ftit ġranet kellna rebbieħ ieħor fil-logħba tagħna kontra 30 sekonda bil-maqlub.
Suqu fuq ir-riserva xejdu le mhix se tieqaf.
Il-ġimgħa d-dieħla nkunu fuq pompa tal-Enemed oħra nagħtu xi ħaġa oħra.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Okay, we proceed to the start.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.